I'm going to show you how I made $194,000 with one AI model. I'm going to break down why this model worked, how I found the niche, how I knew there was demand before I wasted time building everything out, and then whenever I actually did decide to make the fan view page and start monetizing it. Because this is where I see people mess up constantly. They make the model, they make the fan view, they write the bio, make the banner, set up pricing, put the link in the bio, and then they start posting. Then nothing happens, and they've wasted like 2 weeks because they skipped the part where they proved that anybody actually cares about their model. You don't build the store before proving that people actually want the product. Real quick, if you don't know me, my name is Seth, and over the last year, I've done over $500,000 in revenue across my different AI models, and I've helped people make hundreds of thousands of dollars using this business model. So this is not theory. I'm not just talking about some business model I saw on Twitter. This is what I actually do day to day. But before we get into the full breakdown, I want to show you what this actually looks like. So this is one model, and they did $194,000 all time. And that is one model, not 50 models, not some giant agency or a massive team. This is one model that I ran from my personal cell phone, and which you shouldn't do if you've watched my other videos, but that was my first model I ever made. And now she's done $194,000 all time. Now, I'm not really pushing this model that hard anymore. It's had its run. It made a lot of money, it slowed down, and now I'm more focused on other models. That is normal. That's how the business works. Often people want to find just one model, one perfect niche, a perfect setup, and ride it forever. It's probably not going to happen. But what's cool with AI models is that doesn't have to happen. If you were a real model, you only have one life, you have one face. But with AI models, you can milk them while they're profitable and then throw them away and move on to the next one. The pattern is pretty much that you find something that works, you scale it, people notice, they copy it, the market gets more competitive, things start working less well. That does not mean that this model failed. Again, I made $194,000 with one model. This is obviously a win. But if you're going to try and build this into an actual sustainable business, the skill is not, can I get lucky one time? The skill is, can I find winners over and over and over again? So the biggest reason this model worked was the niche. Most beginners make the same exact model. It's just a hot AI girl. Maybe she's, girl next door. I can't believe how many times I've heard people say, I'm going to do a girl next door niche. Maybe she's kind of an Instagram influencer type, like a Miami OnlyFans thought. Maybe she's in a bikini, maybe she's in a bedroom, whatever. She looks good, but there's nothing specific about her. They start posting random content and they wonder why nobody cares, and that is not enough anymore. Maybe a year or two ago, when there was way less competition, you could get away with that. You could make a basic, attractive AI girl post basic content and still make money because the whole thing was so new. But now there are way more people doing this, way more AI models, more people posting, more people copying, more people testing every possible niche, every angle, trying to monetize it. So if your plan is just make a hot girl, that's barely a plan. That's just the starting point. The model needs an angle. That is what the niche is. The niche gives people a reason to care. It gives them something specific to attach to. It gives the model a fantasy, an aesthetic, a reason for someone to follow her instead of the 10,000 other AI girls that look basically the same. And whenever you get everything right, it makes everything easier. So things you want to look for are going to be supply and demand. You want to find what men already want that there isn't enough of. So in my case, I found this kind of more cutesy, innocent looking girl in a male dominated hobby. I started off making kind of car centered content with her. I've now expanded to broader content. But when you see kind of an artsy, cutesy girl like this, typically she is not going to be making it all content. So there's this huge demand for this kind of girl, but no supply. And the result of this is that there is a low supply, high demand, and you give guys a reason to comment, follow, and buy her content. And speaking of content, the content that you make is easier to come up with whenever you have a kind of a targeted niche because you're not just making random posts. So the account is easier to position because you know what she is. The audience is easier to understand because you know who you're trying to attract. Monetization is way better because you're not trying to appeal to every guy on earth. We live in a world where porn is free and readily available. You have to be special if you want people to actually pay to see your model naked. And that's what some people really miss, is the niche is not just branding, it affects your money. So with this model, I wasn't just trying to come up with some random genius niche out of nowhere. So one of the reasons this niche works so well is because it was very visual. It was very colorful, eye-catching, looked different on the feed. And people underestimate how important that is in a sea of women in just normal bikini content on the beach, right? When someone is scrolling Instagram Reels or TikTok, they are not sitting there carefully analyzing your post. They are flying through content. You have maybe half a second to get them to stop scrolling. So if your video looks like every other AI girl video, they're gone half a second. But if you can hook them, make something that pops visually, they're going to stop. Then they realize the girl's attractive. Then they click the profile. Then they follow. Eventually, they're going to funnel through and end up on your paid platform. So you're going to get attention with, good viral content. You're going to get followers from that, and then you're going to get money. A lot of people, especially younger men, want to try and get the money first. They want to make the fan view page immediately. They want to put the link in bio immediately. They want to start monetizing before you have any traffic. Don't do that. We're going to talk about when to make the fan view next, so you know when to do that. So when I'm starting a new model, I do not make the fan view page until I have a reason to believe the model can actually get views. If I post for 2 weeks and I can't get a video over 10,000 views, I'm probably not going to build out the whole paid page yet. Why would you? At that point, I might change the niche. I'm going to change the model. I might change the content style. I might scrap the whole thing and start over from scratch. There's no reason to set up a paid page for something that the market hasn't even validated yet. So I usually wait until I have a reel doing, 50,000 to 100,000 views before I worry about putting the link in the bio. And that's not because making the page is super hard, but the link doesn't matter if nobody's clicking on it. It can only hurt you. And again, it does waste a bit of time. If the account is tiny, you barely have any traffic, you're putting on platform risk without really much upside. So my opinion is simple. Don't monetize too early. Get attention first. Once the content is working, then you build out the rest of the funnel. And once you get your first viral reel, there's this real snowball effect. You get this compounding success here. So you're going to start off with no traffic. You get this first video to hit. So you're going to start off with no traffic. You're going to get your first video to hit. The algorithm is going to learn who to show your content to because you're going to now have, a bit of data. And then the next post is going to be pushed harder to a stronger audience. And then it just creates this feedback loop and it gets easier and easier and easier to make viral content. Once you get that first real wave of followers, some of them start becoming actual fans of the model. They come back, they like everything, they comment, they watch longer, they start caring about your model's personality, and that all helps the next post do better. That's when the account gets momentum, and then you really break out, and it feels like every post you make has a chance to hit. And that's what happened with this model, right? She had the right look, the right niche, proof of concept, and the content was visually strong. It was not just a random AI girl with some lazy captions slapped over the video. It was a real reason people were stopping to watch, and that is what you need. Just to be clear, I'm not saying you should copy the exact niche I used. There's a reason that this model is starting to decline in earnings. That's not the point of this video. The point is the process. So look at the market, right? Find something that already has high demand. Make your own version of that. Make the model believable. Make the content strong. It needs to stop people from scrolling, and test it before you spend a bunch of time building the monetization side. And then once you actually have traffic to your page, then you monetize it properly. Now, if you do this long enough, you're also going to have to accept that good niches get copied. That's totally fine. No shade to anybody who does. It's just the reality of it. If something is making money, people are going to notice. They're going to copy the look, the captions, the format, the funnel, the whole thing. And eventually, the thing that was crushing is going to start to work less well. And that's why you can't become emotionally attached to one model. So again, this model did $194,000. Did its job perfectly well. I'm not going to sit around pretending it's going to work forever, though. It did great, but you could see the pattern. So I'm already testing other models. That's the business. You have to rotate into new models, new niches, new content styles, and new angles. So the real skill is not getting lucky once. It is going to be finding the next winner after the first one slows down. And that's what separates someone who makes a little money for a few months from someone who can actually build a real operation and create a scalable business out of this. Now, obviously, especially on the adult content side of things, there are parts of this business I cannot go super deep into on YouTube. YouTube has rules, platforms are straight. Now, obviously, there are parts of this business that I cannot go super deep into on YouTube. YouTube has rules, especially regarding the adult content side of things. I'm not trying to get the video taken down. I'm also not going to pretend that one YouTube video can even possibly cover every detail of how I actually build this into a real business, because the truth is, it's not just make an AI girl and post her. There's a lot of moving parts. You need the right model, the right niche. You need content that actually gets attention. You need a page that converts. You need to understand how to monetize the fans once they're actually on your page, right? You might think, I'm going to just charge subscriptions and then have my nudes on the wall. That is super incorrect. You need a chatting team. You want to sell on the chats. You don't want to have pay-per-view content on your wall. So there's a lot to do. And that's the stuff I help with more so in my one-on-one mentorship. So if you watch the video, you're serious about building this, or you've already started and you're stuck, that is what the mentorship is for. I'll help you look at what you're doing, figure out what's broken, and build a plan around your actual model instead of giving you some generic advice that may or may not apply, like in a video course. We'll go over your niche, your model, your content, your fan view setup, your traffic strategy, your monetization, and the actual steps that you should be taking. Because that's usually what people need. They do not need more random information. They need someone to look at what they're doing and tell them exactly what to fix. So if you want help from me directly, DM me AI on Instagram. The link to my Instagram is in the description. But either way, the main idea from this video is do not just make a random pretty AI girl and hope that it works. That is what everyone does. First you need to find proof of concept. You need to pick a niche with high demand, make the content visually strong. Don't waste time building the page before you know the account can get views. And then once you do find something that works, scale it hard, double down, because it's probably not going to last forever. So you have to get it while you can. This one model made nearly $200,000 because I found demand. I made my own version of the concept. I tested the content. I waited for proof, and then I monetized once traffic was there. That's the game. Hopefully this helped, and I will see you in the next video or on Instagram.